Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Before we read Srimad Bhagavatam, let's invoke the blessing of the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ईश्वरः परमा कृष्णः सच्चिदानन्दविग्रहः अनादिरादिर्गोविन्दः सर्वकारणकारणम्। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So dear devotees, we have been reading Srimad Bhagavatam and first canto, third chapter. Yesterday we finishes verse number 41. Today is verse 42. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, शिला व्यासदेव की जय. सातु संश्रवयम् आस महर् महर्राजं परीक्षितम् प्रायो पाविस्तं गंगायां पारितं परम परमासिभिः. Sa, the son of Vyasadeva. Tu again. Samshaya Vayamasa. Make them audible. Maharajam. Unto the emperor. Parikshitam. Of the name Parikshit. Paraya Upavistam. Who sat until death without food or drink. Gangayam. On the bank of the Ganges. Paritam. Being surrounded. Parma Rishibhi. By the great sages. Translation. Sukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn delivered the Bhagavatam to the great emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink. Purport. All transcendental messages are received properly in the chain of disciplic succession. This disciplic succession is called parampara. Unless, therefore, Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literatures are received through the parampara system, the reception of knowledge is not bona fide. Vyasadeva delivered the message to Sukadev Goswami, and from Sukadev Goswami, Suta Goswami received the message. One should therefore receive the message of Bhagavatam from Suta Goswami or from his representative, and not from any irrelevant interpreter. Emperor Parikshit received the information of his death in time, and he at once left his kingdom and family and sat down on the bank of Ganges to fast till death. All great sages, rishis, philosophers, mystics, etc., went there due to his imperial position. They offered many suggestions about his immediate duty, and at last it was settled that he would hear from Sukadev Goswami about Krishna, about Lord Krishna. Thus the Bhagavatam was spoken to him. Sripad Shankaracharya, who preached Mayavad philosophy and stressed the impersonal feature of the Absolute, also recommended that one must take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, for there is no hope of gain from debating. Indirectly, Sripad Shankaracharya admitted that What he had preached in flowery grammatical interpretation of the Vedanta Sutra cannot help one at the time of death. At the critical hour of death, one must recite the name of Govinda. This is the recommendation of all great transcendentalists. Sukadev Goswami had long ago stated the same truth that at the end one must remember Narayana. That is the essence of all spiritual activities. In pursuance of this eternal truth, Srimad Bhagavatam was heard by Emperor Parikshit, and it was recited by the able Sukadev Goswami. And both the speaker and the receiver of the messages of Bhagavatam were duly delivered by the same medium. Next, number 43. Krishne swadhamopagate dharma jnanadibhi saha kalau nashtadrasham esha puranarko adhunodhitaha. Krishna in Krishna's Swadhama, own abode, Upagate, having returned, Dharma, religion, Jnana, knowledge, Adibihi, combined together, Saha, along with, Kalau, in the Kali Yuga, Nashta Drishyam, of persons who have lost their sight, Eshaha, all these, Purana Arkaha, the Purana which is brilliant like the sun, Adhunaha, just now, Uditaha, has arisen. Translation. This Bhagavata Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. Purport. Lord Shri Krishna has his eternal Dhamma or abode, where he eternally enjoys himself with his eternal associates and paraphernalia. And his eternal abode is a manifestation of his internal energy, whereas material world is a manifestation of his external energy. When he descends to the material world, he displays himself with all paraphernalia in his internal potency, which is called Atmamaya. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he descends by his own potency, Atmamaya. His form, name, fame, paraphernalia, abode, etc. are not, therefore, creation of matter. He descends to reclaim the fallen souls and to establish codes of religion which are directly enacted by him. Except for God, no one can establish the principles of religion. Either he or suitable person empowered by him can dictate the codes of religion. A real religion means to know God, our relation with him, and our duties in relation with him, and to know ultimately our destination after leaving this material body. The conditioned souls who are entrapped by material energy hardly know all these principles of life. Most of them are like animals, engaged in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. They are mostly engaged in sense enjoyment under the pretension of religiosity, knowledge, or salvation. They are still more blind in the present age of quarrel or Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, the population is just a royal addition of the animals. They have nothing to do with spiritual knowledge or godly religious life. They are so blind that they cannot see anything beyond the jurisdiction of the subtle mind, intelligence, or ego. But they are very much proud of their advancement in knowledge, science, and material prosperity. They can risk their lives to become a dog or hog just after leaving the present body, for they have completely lost the sight of ultimate aim of life. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared before us just a little prior to beginning of Kali Yuga, and he returned to his eternal home practically at the commencement of Kali Yuga. While he was present, he exhibited everything by his different activities. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita specifically and eradicated all pretentious principles of religiosity. And prior to his departure from this material world, he empowered Sri Vyasadeva through Narada to compile the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And thus, both the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are like torch bearers for the blind people of this age. In other words, if man in this age of Kali wants to see the real light of life, they must take to these two books only, and their aim of life will be fulfilled. Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of Bhagavatam, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the summum bonum of life, Lord Shri Krishna personified. We must therefore accept Srimad Bhagavatam as the direct representation of Lord Krishna. One who can see Srimad Bhagavatam can see also Lord Shri Krishna in person. They are identical. Next, 44. Tatra kirtayato vipra viprashir bhuri tejasaha aham chadhya gamam tatra nivistas tad anugrahat soham vashravat vishyami yatha adhitam yathamati. Tatra there kirtayataha while reciting Vipra, O Brahmanas, Vipra Rishihe from the great Brahmanas, Rishi, Bhuri greatly, Tejasaha powerful, Aham I, Cha also, Adhyagamam could understand, Tatra in that meeting, Nevistaha being perfectly attentive, Tad Anugrahat by his mercy, Sah that very thing, Aham I, Vaha unto you, Shrava Yishyami shall let you hear. Yathadhitam Yathamati. As far as my realization. Yathadhitam Yathamati. Translation. O learned Brahmanas. When Sukadev Goswami recited Bhagavatam there, in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus by his mercy I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him and as I have realized it. Yathadhitam Yathamat. Purport. One can certainly see directly the presence of Lord Shri Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam if one has heard it from a self-realized great soul like Sukadev Goswami. One cannot have, however, learn Bhagavatam from a bogus hired reciter whose aim of life is to earn some money out of such a recitation and employ the earning in sex indulgence. No one can learn Srimad Bhagavatam who is associated with persons engaged in sex life. That is the secret of learning Bhagavatam. Nor can one learn Bhagavatam from one who interprets the text by his mundane scholarship. One has to learn Bhagavatam from the representative of Sukadeva Goswami and no one else. If one at all wants to see Lord Shri Krishna in the pages, that is the process, and there is no alternative. Suta Goswami is a bona fide representative of Sukadeva Goswami because he wants to present the message which he received from the great learned Brahmana. Sukadeva Goswami presented Bhagavatam as he heard it from his great father. And so also Suta Goswami is presenting Bhagavatam as he had heard it from Sukadev Goswami. Simple hearing is not at all. One must realize the text with proper attention. The word Nivista means that Suta Goswami drank the juice of Bhagavatam through his ears. That is the real process of receiving Bhagavatam. One should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. The secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and waiting. But somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Shri Krishna in person in the pages of Bhagavatam. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, third chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Hare Krishna. So this finished the third chapter of first canto. So we have 10 more minutes. Let's start the fourth chapter. The chapter title is The Appearance of Sri Narada. Chapter 4, verse text 1. Vyasavacha iti bhruvanam samsutya muninam dirgha strinam vradhakula atisutam baharvacha shonakabrivit. Vyasadeva, Uvacha said, Iti thus, Bhuvanam speaking, Samstuya congratulating, Munina of great sages, Dirgha prolonged, Satrinam of those engaged in performance of sacrifice, Vridha elderly, Kulapatihi head of the assembly, Sutam unto Suta Goswami, Bahuracha learned, Shonaka of the name Shonaka, Abravit addressed. Translation. Vyasadeva said, on hearing Suta Goswami speak thus, Shaunaka Muni, who was elderly, learned leader of all the rishis, engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Suta Goswami by addressing him as follows. Purport. In the meeting of learned men, when there are congratulations or addresses for speaker, the qualification of the congratulator should be as follows. He must be the leader of the house and an elderly man. He must be vastly learned also. Sri Shaunaka Rishi had all these qualifications, and thus he stood up to congratulate Sri Suta Goswami when he expressed his desire to present Srimad Bhagavatam exactly as he heard it from Sukadev Goswami and also realized it personally. Yathaditam Yathamati. Personal realization does not mean that one should, out of vanity, attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous Acharya. He must have full confidence in the previous Acharya, and at the same time, he must realize the subject matter so nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstances in a suitable manner. The original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it, yet it should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization. The leader of the assembly, Shaunaka, could estimate the value of the speaker. The leader of the assembly, Shaunaka, could estimate the value of the speaker, Sri Suta Goswami, simply by his uttering Yatha Aditam Yathamati. Therefore, he was very glad to congratulate him in ecstasy. No learned man should be willing to hear a person who does not represent the original Acharya. So the speaker and the audience were bona fide in this meeting, where Bhagavatam was being recited for the second time. That should be the standard of recitation of Bhagavatam. So that real purpose can be served without difficulty. Unless this situation is created, Bhagavatam recitation for extraneous purpose is useless labor, both for the speaker and for the audience. Hare Krishna. So now let's do one more verse if it is not very big. Yeah. Second verse, fourth chapter. Shonakavacha Suta Suta Mahabhaga Vadano Vadatam Varaha Katham Bhagavatam Punyam Yaddaha Bhagavan Chukaha. Shaunaka Uvacha said, Suta, O Suta Goswami, Mahabhaga, the most fortunate, Vada, please speak, Na, unto us, Vadatam, of those who can speak, Vara, respected, Katham, message, Bhagavatim, of the Bhagavatam, Punyam, pious, Yat, which, Ah, said, Bhagavan, great powerful, Suka, Sri Sukadev Goswami. Translation. Shaunaka said, O Suta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Sukadev Goswami. Suta Goswami is twice addressed herein by Shaunaka Goswami out of great joy because he and the members of the assembly were eager to hear the text of Bhagavatam uttered by Sukadev Goswami. They were not interested in hearing from a bogus person who would interpret in his own way to suit his own purpose. Generally, the so called Bhagavatam reciters are either professional readers or so called learned impersonalists who cannot enter into the transcendental personal activities of the Supreme Person. Such impersonalists twist some meanings out of Bhagavatam to suit and support impersonalist views. And the professional readers at once go to the 10th canto to misexplain the most confidential part of Lord's pastimes. Neither of these reciters are bona fide persons to recite Bhagavatam. Only one who's prepared to present Bhagavatam in the light of Sukadev Goswami, and only those who are prepared to hear Sukadev Goswami and his representative are bona fide participants in the transcendental discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here. Tomorrow will be the third verse. Anybody has any question, correction, chastisement, any realization before we continue chanting? All right. So if there's no other question or correction, so we'll stop here. Thank you, dear devotees, for listening to me, and please forgive me if I have not recited Bhagavatam properly. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। So we'll stop here and continue chanting Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.